share with you the recap or revision of our topic so that you can get some ideas about our discussion today. So this is our recap that I want you to understand, which is this one, this slide. So these slides are talking about the summary of all discussion that we are going to do. So we have data. So non-metric data means that the data is not in the form of numbers. Okay, so this one multiple category, we are going to use the chi-square. So chi-square I'm going to explain after this lah. And then we also got non-metric, and then two groups. We got the independence, we call it as the this one is wrong. And then we got the data, and then we are tend to measure the differences between two groups. And then if the group is independent to each other, so this is our test, independent sample t-test. Okay, and then we got two groups, but the group is dependent, which is we measure morning and then we measure again afternoon. So this one we call it as a paired sample t-test. Okay, and then we want to measure differences. So after this I'm going to explain about ANOVA. So multiple group and then each independent to each other, we call it as a one-way ANOVA. So after we measure the one-way ANOVA, we also have the factorial ANOVA. So factorial ANOVA is not being covered in your curriculum. I'm going to skip this one. So multiple group variables, which is the dependent, this one are considered under the GLM, General Linear Model, or we call it as a repeated measures ANOVA. So this one also not covered under our curriculum. So whatever yang I highlight, underline that one, is not being covered under our curriculum. So we only cover chi-square, independent sample t-test, paired sample t-test, and also one-way ANOVA, and inclusive also the non-parametric test, non-para test. Okay, and then we got the data in the form of matrix. Matrix means the data is usually occur in numbering form. We got two variables, and then two variable it is normally tabulated. We are going to use the Pearson product moment correlation. This one are for correlation tests. This one is covered under our curriculum. I'm going to explain you that one. And then also if you got your data is not normally distributed, we are going to use the rank, which is similarly to the Pearson, but this one we call it as a Spearman-Rowe correlation. And then the next one is two variable dichotomous in numbers, and then this one is point biserial, is not covered under our curriculum. And then if you got the matrix, this one should go to this one first. Relationship, two variable. And then relationship, multiple variable, we are going to use the multiple regression. So multiple regression also, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to share with you the item regarding the simple linear regression only. So this is about the topic being covered for our analysis today for hypothesis testing. So hopefully by the end of this session, by the end of today, you can get some idea lah macam mana nak buat all this analysis. And hopefully if you don't understand in any of this procedure, please let me know so that I can make a repetition again and again until you understand. Otherwise it's no use for you to learn about all these things lah if you do not know how to use. Okay, you copy everything. So this is what we are going to discuss today. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just for recap that one. So now I'm going to continue for the analysis of variance. Analysis of variance are actually we measure the differences also. It's a measurement to determine is there any difference or not if the group is more than two. That's all. It's same like independent sample t-test, but independent sample only for two groups, male, female, Malay, non-Malay. But for analysis of variance, we are going to analyze for data that are considered to become or have more than two groups. For example, you want to analyze the knowledge based on races. So we have three races, right? Malay, Chinese, Indian, whatsoever. So that one are considered group more than two. So far so good. The analysis is the same, the hypothesis also is the same. It's just the analysis of variance consists of grouping more than two. That's all. So analysis of variance is what? Measuring the differences between group which is more than two. And then the data must be normally tabulated. That's all. That is the simplest way we want to talk about. As I mentioned before, why we need to measure the differences? Why we need to measure all these things? Because we want to identify the factors. So based on the previous example, we already saw that the knowledge are not differ in terms of the gender. Correct or not correct? What does that mean? That means our gender are not the factor that might influence the differences in terms of the knowledge. So we do not want to analyze the gender in our association because it's not differ and it will also not associate. Faham tak? Faham tak? Kita kan ada 3 hypothesis kan. The first one is to identify the demographic background of the respondent. The second one, to identify and compare the knowledge among respondents according to their demographic characteristic. And then the third one, to identify the demographic characteristic that are associated or correlated with the knowledge. So based on the previous example, which is we use the gender, we might not want to bring the gender in the third analysis. The third analysis is the relationship lah, tak payah buat. Sebab apa? Memang gender tak berbeza kan, dia sama sahaja. That means whether you are male or female, you are tend to give the similar results in terms of your knowledge for the peritoniasis. Okay, thank you. So this is the objective. Understand when to apply the ANOVA, and then the requirement is also the same. Must be data normally tabulated. And your data must consist of the group more than 2. That's all. The difference is more than 2. Itu je. Okay. And then the next one, we got some assumption. So the assumption need to be met. Assumption is also considered as the requirement for running the ANOVA. If your assumptions is violated, so you might want to change to the non-parametric test, which is we name it as a Kruskal-Wallis. Apa dia? Kruskal-Wallis. So macam susah ke senang ni Macam awak ni macam stress saya tengok kan. 2 hari ni I cannot see your face in the good form You are tend to stressful little bit, but no, don't worry, because no harm not understanding all of this, because it takes time because this is the first time you learn about statistics, right? Before this you learn statistics in your dream. Correct. You just listen to your lecture and then suddenly you get past that subject. Correct. But unfortunately now you need to retrain again. Therefore, it's a very good for you to have a good fundamental statistic during your basic. That's why the revisions of curriculum being occur. So hopefully in the future, all the other batches, all your new batch of allied health professional might able to understand if they are continuing their study. Never mind, I can assume that all of you understand all these things. It's just you do not usually use. Okay, you do not usually use. And perhaps this is the first time of your life opening up the computer, right? Okay, never mind. This is the assumption. Data must be normal. And then your homogeneity of variance. This homogeneity of variance are going to be calculated and compute for you using the SPSS. So it can compute straight away for you. And then the case represent random samples. Means that you need to collect your samples from the random population. So how you want to make it random? As I mentioned to you before, I'm going to give the numbers, one of you, each respective with the different numbers, and then I will put all these numbers inside a balang or a cup, and then I will make a lottery method. You know lottery method? So everybody get the equal chance to be selected and become my respondent. So that's why we call it as the simple random method. Okay, if I got time, I'm also going to explain to you about using the Microsoft Excel to identify the random number. How you want to identify the random number. I can actually, whatever I say, I can show, but I believe when I show, then you cannot follow, and then you become stressful, and then you will shut down your mind. It's like a transformers who are having a weak battery. Okay, this is the homogeneity of variance test. Actually, it's the same thing like before. We have the null and alternative hypothesis. What is our null? The mean in all groups are equal. For example, we want to identify the knowledge. After this, we want to measure the knowledge in the different perception or in the different category. Whether you are Malay, Chinese, Indian or others, is there any differences between these 4 groups? So it is more than 2 groups, right? So this is where we need to use the ANOVA, Analysis of Variance. Can you say it? Can you say the word? ANOVA. ANOVA, okay, Analysis of Variance. So what is our null? Our null is we are going to see that all of the mean in terms of knowledge between the difference of races are the same. But our alternative hypothesis or research hypothesis, all of the mean between the group of races are not the same. Okay, similarly like before. Correct or not correct? Homogeneity of variance is a additional test that the ANOVA or the statistical analysis under the SPSS are going to calculate for you. So you need to make sure that the assumption is fulfilled by looking into the Levine statistics. This Levine statistic is actually already being explained to you before under the independent sample t-test, which is the first tables that indicate whether we want to choose the first row or the second row. Can you remember that one, or you cannot remember at all? Yes, you can remember. Very good. Okay, this is our outcome. Okay, in the ANOVA, we are going to have 2 different analyses that are simultaneously run together. The first one, we want to ensure whether the races just now that our hypothesis is either different or not between them. Can you understand? For example, Malay, non-Malay, Malay, Chinese and Indian, is there any difference in terms of their knowledge? So if there is any difference, so we want to know whether which group is different to which group. Because we got 3 groups, right? So, for example, Malay, Chinese and Indian, we want to know, in the first thing, the SPSS will give you the idea, oh, they are different in each other. But we have another analysis, we call it as a post-hoc analysis. So this post-hoc will identify is whether the Malay is actually differ with the Chinese, or is the Malay is differ with the Indian, or if the Indian is differ to the Chinese, or if the Indian is differ to the Malay. Only to looking into which one is differ to which one. Therefore, this slide is explaining to you that one, which is the post-hoc analysis. No problem, because the SPSS are going to give you the results straight away. No need to reanalyze again. Okay, so that's good. So we have the hypothesis testing. Similarly, as we discussed before, we got the Bayesian. The difference is the SIGF, the significant F. So we need to report our value of statistics is the F, is not the T, because the T is for the t-test, but for the F is about the ANOVA. Okay. Very good. So this is our hypothesis. We assume that our mean in the first group, in the second group, and the third group are almost the same. And then we have the alternative hypothesis that not all the mean are equal. As simple as like that, okay? And then the second step is to identify your significant level, which is the alpha. Usually we set at level of 0.05. And then we run the statistic and report our p-value and our f statistic, okay? So by the end of this course, I hope that you know how to compute and run the analysis for ANOVA. Okay, this is the step 4, whether you want to reject or fail to reject the significant F, the p-value that's given to you under the ANOVA test. Okay, and then you make a conclusion based on what you decide. If you decide to reject an hypothesis, then you will say that there is a significant difference in terms of the groups. And if you fail to reject an hypothesis, you are going to say that there is no significant difference in terms of all mean being tested between the groups. So that's good? Very good. Okay, this is the post-hoc comparison. We are going to use the Turkey HSD. What is that? Never mind, just take that one. Okay, so let us work in the example. Can we proceed with the example, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, very good. So now I'm going to give you this data, and I'm going to show with you how you can enter this data, and then we can analyze it together. Okay, so first of all, go to the new and open your new data. Okay, this is your new data here. Okay. Okay, open your new data and then you enter accordingly. Please remember, when you use the SPSS or any statistical package, you must make sure that you understand their variables. So I want to ask you their variables. How many variables in this data? Wrong, it's not 3 variables. So actually, how many variable we have here is 2 variable only. The first one is the group. And then the second variable will be what? This one is 3 employee supervisor, test differences, perception. So this one is the perception score lah. So we got 2 variables only. So the first one is the group. So you can just type here is group, and then the next one is perception. Okay, perception. You can type it directly here. And then remember that we got 3 groups, right? So under the value here, got 3 nokta or 3 dots. Click these 3 dots and name accordingly lah. The first one is support. Okay, and then the second one is the line. Okay, the third one will be the what is this? Oh, sorry. I made some mistake here. It's not support. It's a supervisor. Sorry. Supervise. Never mind lah. You just write whatever you understand lah. Because this is just example. And then the next one will be support. Okay, and then finish. Alright, boleh Number 1 is the supervisor. Ni lantak lah, ni saya salah eja ni because I'm not an Englishman. Number 2 is line. Number 3 is support. Okay, after that we click OK. Okay, follow or not follow? Follow okay. And then after you setting up your variables, you go to your data view. You click down here. We got data view here Click your data view to enter your data. So the first one is the group. Okay, please look at this first and then you can do it yourself. The first one, I'm looking into this first column. Okay, the first column is support. The second column is line. Okay, just do like this. Okay, the first one is about the one kan, apa ni supervisor kan, supervise. So I'm going to copy and then paste lah. So I'm going to put the numbers lah, 34, 27, 25, 33, 27. You can follow me. And then the next one is 35. And then the next one is 32. And then the next one is 29. 29. And then 29 is 31. Okay, if you cannot see this thing, never mind, you can click this button. Change value, it become value like this. Otherwise you become afraid kan. Where is the hell is my supervisor? No, actually it's transfer into the numbers and also the word. Okay, the next group will be the support group. Just put here number 2 and then you can just copy it and then you drag it accordingly and then paste. Okay, copy and paste is just simple like that. 24, 23, correct. 25, after that 18. Okay, after 18 is 23, after 23 is 24. After 24 is 21, after that is 18, after that is 17, and last but not least is 18. Okay, 18. Okay, this one is number 2. Okay, so far so good. You follow me or not follow? Very good. Okay, the next one, line. Okay, the next one is the third group, right? You just put here number 3, and then you can just copy and paste. Okay, copy this one and then you highlight this one and then put support. So the support will be as follows: 14, 23, 16, 21, 20, and then the next one will be 17, and then 16, 24, 22 and 23. Finish. Okay, so this one you can just copy and paste. Excuse me. Okay, so now we are completing our data entry. Okay, can you see it? You can see it already, right? Can you see it or you cannot see it clearly? You cannot see it clearly. So what you want me to do? You want me to besar this one? How? I'm not sure how to besar this one. This is the paling besar one. Never mind, I can try to adjust this one to this one. Is that okay for your eye? Atas lagi, atas lagi. Ini dah paling atas dah puan. Atas mana lagi ni? Okay. So please make sure that you can change this one. Okay, this one. Supervise. I yang silap tulis. It's okay. No need to follow whatever I did. Okay, you just follow whatever you want. Okay, can you copy it? 31, okay, 24, 23, 25, 18, 23, 24, 21, 18, 17, 18, 14, 41, 42, 14, 34. Continue the data analysis for this thing, so you can see inside my notes and also you can copy it accordingly. So how to analyze using ANOVA is very simple. You go to the analyze and then you proceed with the comparing mean and then you go to the one-way ANOVA. One-way ANOVA is for us to analyze the analysis of variance. Okay, I make a repetition here. The first one you go to analyze and then proceed with the compare mean and then proceed with the one-way ANOVA. Okay, so far so good? Very good. And then the next one, please take the perception. The perception is the score. The score perception put into the dependent list. And then the group. Actually the group ni tak patutnya dalam bentuk ruler, but this one is just to speed up the process. We don't have time to change, never mind. Just put the group under the factor there. Okay, finish? Not finish, never mind, I show you again. Analyze, compare mean, one-way ANOVA. Okay, after that, put the perception or your DV or your interest variables inside the dependent list and then another grouping variables inside the factor. Okay, complete already? Very good. Now, please click the pause Hoc button. I repeat again, pause Hoc button on the left, on the right side of the radio button there. Under the contrast, we got the pause Hoc. Click the pause Hoc and then tick for the Turkey. Tick for the Turkey. Turkey HSD. This one is Turkey. Okay, after you tick the Turkey and then you can see the significant levels as default being set by the computer is 0.05 level of significance. After that you click continue. Okay, everyone follow? Very good. The next one you click under that is option. Inside the option button you click as follows. You click the descriptive statistic. After you click the descriptive statistic, you click the homogeneity of variance. The homogeneity of variance are looking for the homogeneous effect of your data. If your data is homogeneous, then we can proceed. Otherwise, we cannot proceed and we need to change to other form of analysis. And then for additional statistical analysis, you can just click the means plot. Click the means plot and then click continue. Okay, so far so good? After that, you can click OK button. Automatically, the computer are going to give you this kind of analysis. So the first one is the supervisor, line and support. So you can see the mean are as follows, 30, 21, 19. Okay, so now I'm going to help you with the interpretation. Are you ready? So the first one, you look into the descriptive statistic of this data. You can see that the first group is 30, the second group is 21, the third group is 90.6, something like that. The first one that I mentioned to you before is the homogeneity of variance. So under here, you can see the test of homogeneity of variance. The significant level must be more than our alpha 0.05. So based on this data, is more than or not more than? More than. That's mean khalas. Khalas mean what? You can proceed with this ANOVA. You can proceed with this ANOVA. That means it's not violated. You can proceed with the ANOVA. Okay, understand? Okay, the main idea that you want to see whether there is a differences or not are this table. Unfortunately, majority of you are not follow my order. I want you to write your null and alternative hypothesis also. You don't write on your piece of paper. Yes or no? Yes, right, because you are so good. That's why you not write it up. So never mind, I wait for you. Please write first your hypothesis before we begin. Ladies and gentlemen, so I'm going to make a repetition about the data analysis for this particular example. So we got a case study here, or we got the data as follows. So this is our question. Data on perception to its management was gathered from randomly selected samples comprising of 3 different groups of employee, namely as follows: supervisor, line, and support. Test the differences in terms of their perceptions among these 3 groups at the level of significance 0.05, which is our alpha is 0.05. State the appropriate null and alternative hypothesis, report the value of the test, and state your decision and conclusion. So it's very basic one. So how we are going to do that? The first one, please enter accordingly as follows. So make sure that you have 2 variables. The first variable is group variables, and then the second variables will be your perceptions. Okay, so far so good, eh? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we are beginning our step of hypothesis. So the first one, I instruct you to state your null and alternative hypothesis. What is your null? Mu1 is equal to mu2 is equal to mu3. Okay, the alternative hypothesis as follows. All mean are not the same, or all mean are different. It's okay. Same also like that. If you like to use that word also can one. And then alpha is equal to 0.05. And then the third step is actually run the statistic and report. What kind of report that you need to provide? The first report that you need to report is the Levine statistic. Levine statistics is to measure whether the ANOVA is acceptable or not acceptable. And then the most important thing is the F statistic and also what? P? Correct one. P value. So we are going to know whether there is different or there is no different based on the F statistic and also based on the P value given by the software. And then the fourth step is actually you make a decision whether you want to reject or fail to reject. If your alpha is less, if your P is less than alpha, you reject. If your P is more than alpha, then you fail to reject. And the last but not least is you making a conclusion. So write this one first in a piece of paper so that you know what is the step are going on. Because I can just say the word, but if you do not able to imagine that one, so you might have a different interpretation at the end of the analysis. Okay, so I'm going to make a repetition about the analysis procedure. The first one, you click the analyze button, and then you proceed with the compare mean, and then you go to the one-way ANOVA. Inside the one-way ANOVA, you are going to put the perceptions inside the dependent list, and then put the group inside the factor. After that, go to the post hoc and then tick for Turkey, and then you can see this one is our alpha 0.05 is already set as default. Click continue, and then go to the option, click for descriptive, homogeneity of variance test, and means plot. And then after that, proceed with the continue button and then click OK. After you click OK, this table will be produced for you. So the first one, we need to see this one. This data provide us some ideas that it is more than alpha. So therefore, the ANOVA can be proceed because the homogeneity of variance show a good things, a good sign. The next one is this one. The P value and also the F statistic. So this one we got P value less than 0.001. What does that mean? More than or less than alpha? More than or less than alpha? Very good, less than alpha. If less than alpha, therefore we reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis. Correct, we reject the null hypothesis. Then what we conclude? Based on our conclusion, we will say that there is a significant difference in terms of their perception score between the group, which is the group 1, group 2, group 3, which is supervisory, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you about the post hoc after this. So because the time is almost